So, we all know that designing a system that supports millions of users in one go is not an easy job, and it requires a lot of improvements, a lot of refinements as we go. So, what we're going to do in this series is that we'll gradually scale up our system to serve millions of users. We'll be starting with a very simple setup involving everything happening on one single server. Thus, we're going to be studying the single server setup. Before we get started, there are some important terms that you need to be acquainted with. First of all, the DNS. DNS is the DNS is the domain name system. It is like a phone book that is going to hold the IP address alongside the domain name. This is basically just a table. IP address is something that is going to be used to identify different servers on the internet. Let's say Google is on some IP address, and this IP address is going to have some domain name as well. Domain name is the nickname that is given for user friendly naming. Cool, this makes sense, right? So let's say if we come here and just ping google.com, we'll see that this is the IP address that it is using here. So if I just copy it up and go to my browser and search, I'll move to the Google server only. Oh, pretty cool, right? So this is what DNS and IP address are. Let me just quickly stop my terminal, otherwise it is just continuously going to send requests to the Google servers, which is obviously up right now. It's not going down any soon, I believe. It's Google. So they have a very nice system design, and we aim to learn to do that as well. Alright, so a web server now is just a software that is accepting some request and is going to return some responses. Makes sense. Very simple, clearly, right? So if we look at the bigger picture, we can see that the user is making some request using some domain name, and the DNS is mapping that with some IP address, and using that IP address, the browser is communicating with the web server and receiving the website or whatever response it is supposed to send. Makes sense, right? So let's see here. This is a user. User is using some mobile browser or mobile app, anything. What it's going to do is it is going to send some domain name to the DNS. Let's say this is my website. This is the name of my website. It goes here. Okay. Now the DNS is going to simply return the IP address mapped to this domain name. Correct? This IP address gets returned. Now the web browser is going to be using this IP address to call the server. Okay? When the web browser sends the request to the web server with this IP address, the web server will smoothly return the HTML pages reference to that domain name, and the user will get the website they are looking for. This is just a very simple setup where user makes a request and they receive the HTML pages or the JSON response, whatever they are looking, whatever the service is actually serving in the response. Pretty cool, right? The user can retrieve. If you've used Postman before, you can see that you can perform post requests, get requests, put requests, and delete requests. So basically if a user sends a GET request, they'll get a response in return. Makes sense, correct? This is a very simple setup. We can also introduce databases into our system. Let's say a web server has some important documentations to hold, or let's say there are some restaurant management system where they have to hold the orders and etc., right? So I simply introduced a database here. What type of database we'll be discussing in the later parts, right? So the web server, when it receives the request, it is going to communicate with the database, and the database will return whatever it is asking for in return. The web server can perform read operations, write operations, update operations, and the web server will return the data. If it is a read operation, the web server receives whatever it was reading, and then that data gets sent to the user as well. We will be diving deep into the database part in the upcoming parts. Thank you.